we saw people dying that could have been saved if we could only use this research, and actually applied it and been able to use it. That this is what the doctor ordered for Bahamas.
Focus this Monday, September 9th at 8:30 p.m. only on ZNS TV 13.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shashina Rule. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news, the Grand Bahama Port Authority is at the center of another land dispute. Tonight, Sabrina Brown tells us that a group of residents claiming ownership to beachfront property say they are prepared to fight for what is theirs.
Give back what belongs to us. Give back and take my grandfather's tears away from him. Let him be happy in his grave.
Harcourt Roberts says he is part owner of the 200-plus acres of land near the Old Stone Crab restaurant on Taino Beach, which has reportedly been acquired by the Grand Bahama Port Authority. Roberts says the property was passed down to him by his grandfather. He recalled the days when he and his family lived on the beachfront property, and he also remembers the day his grandfather was told he had to move back in the mid-1960s.
One day I came and I talked to my grandfather, who was sitting in the little bar he used to rent from Mr. Zeffie Smith. And I meet tears coming out of my grandfather. I said, "What happened, Papa?" He used to call me Cordy. He said, "Cordy, I have to move." I said, "Move from where?" He said, "From my house where I support all my children and where you were born and growed up."
Roberts says some 20 homes once stood on that tract of land, which was a part of the Smiths Point community. You can still see the remnant of one of those structures. He contends that his grandfather never sold his portion. However, it is understood that the property has been earmarked by the Port Authority for a major touristic development.
The board couldn't buy this, never bought this. Papa wouldn't have sold it. That's his birthright. He cultivated this all his life.
The public service driver says he knew about the situation for some time, but he says he was not in a position to pursue the matter.
The younger generation behind me had came up, and they're in the position to fight, and they are afraid of us. And it gives me more courage.
82-year-old Doris Smith also claims that she owned a home on the Smiths Point property, which she says she lived in for nearly 40 years before she relocated to West End for a better way of life. However, Smith says she never sold her home to anyone, but it was torn down without her permission.
I was working in West End, and when I hear everything was pushed down, my house with everything, and it was gone. They didn't say anything. Who was living here get notice to move, but I didn't get anything. Nobody said nothing to me. No, nothing. That's all. That's it. They just do what they wanted to do.
Now, the families provided ZNS with copies of what they say are original documents proving their ownership of the property. However, President of the Grand Bahama Port Authority, Ian Roll, told us that the port also has documents to prove that the land in question is owned by the group of companies. Roll is urging residents not to stand in the way of economic development for the island. Sabrina Brown, ZNS Network News.
Well, just a short time ago, the Grand Bahama Port Authority issued a written statement advising the Grand Bahama Development Company Limited, or DEVCO, and it says that the legal and beneficial owner of the land earmarked for the proposed water park. Now, according to the release, the Port Authority appreciates the fact that persons are generally within the context of a legal framework able to dispute property ownership. However, they are satisfied that DEVCO has proper documentary title, which is recorded in the Bahamas Registry of Records. Now, in other news, the Bahamas Marine Dock Refinery Union is taking issue with the recent termination of a group of workers at Quality Services. President Lionel Morley says about 7 workers were recently let go at the end of a contract. However, he says foreign workers were kept on. Morley contends that despite efforts by the Minister of Immigration, Fred Mitchell, to enforce the Bahamianization policy, Bahamian workers are still being placed at a disadvantage.
A Bahamian gentleman worker was fitting the other day. As soon as the foreign worker came in, he was asked to go into the field, the broom and the mop. We're saying if we're going to improve the quality of lifestyle for Bahamian workers, there cannot be an exclusion. Because we signed an undertaking by the Ministry of Grand Bahama a couple of months ago where it was agreed that we would have sustainable training. You cannot be laying sheet metal with 25 foreign workers and no Bahamian workers. You cannot be pipe fitting with 15 foreign workers and no Bahamian workers. Bahamians have to be an inclusive and intrinsic part of the ongoing progress and training and quality service. It cannot be where it's exclusively for foreign workers.
Well, Morley says while the relationship between the union and management has improved, there is still a level of contention.
Remember, we were at a stalemate where we couldn't even get an audience with quality. Since then, quality have hired a consultant who has engaged us and who have given us some hope that we would reach our ultimate goal. But we are talking now about the principles of quality, who have been able to stand and hide behind the mirror of this consultant. And since then, we believe have been falling short of fulfilling the obligation in which they have signed on to, inclusive of training.
Well, we contacted Quality Services, but no one was available to respond to Morley's claims. Meantime, companies in the industrial park are being encouraged to pool resources and develop a safety council that could look into safety issues as well as training. Megan Shepard reports.
Representatives from a number of industrial companies and contractors coming together this morning in hopes of forming a local safety council. President and CEO of Bahamas Safety Authority Henry Duncombe says a speaker was brought in to enlighten the industry representatives on new safety technology.
We just migrated to this new philosophy of training because it now brings web-based training to individuals. And so this meeting was to bring him down to enlighten the industry. We've invited the CEOs of all of the larger companies and also the contracting companies that do a lot of business in the larger industrial companies on the island. So what we're trying to do is to launch this new project or program which is going to increase the safety awareness of everyone on the island.
Duncombe says that companies will be able to decide on the level of training they find necessary for employers and contractors. He says while the major companies need to buy into the Safety Council, he is hoping that the government gets on board as well.
Well, of course, the government needs to be on board, and of course there needs to be some advocacy with even putting some of these things into law. In America it's different because they have law, they have legal issues where you must be certified to a certain level to enter any facility. Here we don't have that. And so if we can get something like that, or even just get the government to buy in on the concept, and I think we did have our government representative here, so we'll see how that goes.
Guest speaker and president of the Houston Area Safety Council, Louis Aguilar, says he wants to get the message out that 0 is a good number when it comes to safety. He says he believes this conversation is a good start and he sees the partnership continuing in the future.
We say that 0 is good. You know, we're trying to give them a jump start with this new group where they can organize themselves, first of all, committee level, where a company can share best practices. And for the good of the industry. You know, what I say in the presentation was the DNA of an association is to come together for resolving problems that are common for everybody. And they're above and beyond one person to resolve. So to that end, you know, I think it's a good start where they can come to the table, start sharing best practices, and moreover, just bring their subject matter experts to define all these learning objectives.
President of the BSA says they hope to have the Safety Council established by 2014. Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
Stay with us. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition continues right after this.